of steel.
Any length.
You can blow up a balloon.
Any size.
You can mold plastic.
Any shape.
Blokes that build the fourth bridge.
They didn't worry.
You can roll up paper any length. Take Chambers' dictionary.
That's long.
You can build concrete.
Any height.
Flow.
Water flows or doesn't. Or doesn't or does.
Flows or not flows. You can weave string.
Any mesh.
Take this table.
You've got a top there. Top or length.
You can sit in it. You can sit on it. Under it. Or half under it. Anyway, what I want to do, we're surviving members of the group, and so if you don't mind, I thought I'd read a bits of a letter which Daphne Chalk sent to me about her father when I asked prior to the archive what did she think that he would want. And so it says, "Dear David, I'm sorry about this. You're kind of wanting to know what I think Warren would want. I suppose you're asking me whether he would like his work on the internet or in a library." And then she goes on to say, "Acting, the highest point or pitch, the culmination of perfection. A Roadrunner points to Warren's pent-up emotion." And Roadrunner was one of his favourite songs, which is on this record that Andrew's lent me. And trickster-like mentality. He was the gunfighter at OK Corral, the seventh samurai, the lonely are the brave horsemen defying the finding technology of helicopter surveillance and the rifle's telescopic viewfinder and deadly cross sights. He didn't wish to be visible, let alone found. He believed himself to be a maverick. He wanted to be an isolated and extraordinary. He wanted to be on the road like Woody Guthrie, Jack Kerouac, Jimmy Dean, and possess the urbanity of Tom Wolfe's Tangerine, Andy Warhol's 15 Minutes, William Burroughs' New Lunch, the loathing of Hunter S. Thompson. He was happy in Ron's T-Bird. They were the original Thelma and Louise of the architectural world. Road buddies Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble madly running their naked feet along the tar macadam. He wanted elegance and the amateur's devotion, the conflict of throwaway and preservation, revenance and impertinence, critical thinking. He was a Houdini of architecture, he was still in the chest, struggling to get himself free. He was in pain on every level, so for him no attachment was the only option. He was not comfortable in his skin. He could not begin to design other skins, let alone grow them. He described himself as an exposed nerve, which he deadened with alcohol. Alan Stanton on his indeterminacy checklist. So look at his buildings. What's happened? Where did his ideas go? Free range, natural dispersal, natural conglomeration, unseen networks, not containing function in elementalized parts, casual interchange, the community of the moment, the phasing out of building types, the no beginning, things cropping up here and there and disappearing, quantity production, things going on and on and on and on and on, mathematical indeterminacy, islands as connections of environment without structure. Can't make it out. Guess he can. So the one you wanted, this is a letter to me with reference to Albert Ayler. This is not Albert Ayler. I don't know who this is, actually. Does anybody know? I know Andrew Holmes knows. He's the only person. Architecture is probably a hoax, a fantasy world brought about through a desire to locate, absorb and integrate into an overall obsession, a self-interpretation of the everyday world around us, an impossible attempt to rationalize the irrational. It is difficult to be exact about influences, but those influences that enter our unconscious consciousness are what I call ghosts. Our lives exist within a complex web of these influences, which we either accept or reject. Those we find acceptable are turned to advantage. They become our preoccupations, prejudices, or preconceptions. Systematic analysis is such a preconception. Ghosts help us to reinforce and establish attitudes, to build a very personal language, a complex labyrinth of ideals, constraints, theories, half-remembered rules, symbols and words that ultimately digested affect our concepts. It is unpopular but essential. that existing attitudes come in for constant and rigorous renewal or reappraisal. We're confronted with a dynamic shifting pattern of events at both popular and intellectual levels, both stimulating and confusing. It is right that influences should last only as long as they are useful to us, and our architecture should reflect this. At a general level, it is becoming increasingly apparent that due to historical circumstances, the more tangible ghosts of the past, those grim, humorless, static, literary or visual images, will succumb to the onslaught of the invisible media, the psychedelic vision, the insight accompanying a joke, the phantoms of the future. Since we've got some members of the Richard Rogers Partnership here today, I think they've had enough praise and money given to them. So I'd like to remind them of the old Archigram adage. Maybe the answer to an architectural problem is not necessarily a building, not necessarily an airport building particularly. I was travelling recently on the upper deck of a 73 bus, and I noticed sitting, can the music be louder please? Sitting on the seat beside me a copy of Time magazine, and having nothing better to do, I was flipping through its pages when I came across this extraordinary news item. I think the clearest way of describing of what I saw in relation to this picture, which I haven't got here, it's not that picture at all, is to read it to you. Last week, 40 miles south of London, just before a busy Friday lunchtime, a Ford Cortina containing 280 pounds of gelignite exploded beside an unguarded building, only 3 weeks away from completion. Initially, the Marxist official wing of the Irish Republican Army took credit for the blast. Further investigation revealed, however, that this claim was unfounded, and in fact, the unofficial wing of the Hardware Moratorium Committee, the Anti-Building Front, was responsible. This brings into the total number of attacks on buildings under construction to 47 in the past 7 months. I leave you with this chilling statistic. I'd also like to read you from Archigram number 9, the last Archigram, night-scented stock, provided by Stewart and Brule Limited, Central Market, Nottingham. Night-scented stock, hardy annual height 1 foot, so thinly in well-prepared ground from spring onwards can be sown broadcast and later thinning out the plants as necessary, provides a glorious fragrance in the evening. I might also read from Archigram 9 something which Ron Heron wrote, which I think is from his thing called Holographic Scene Setter, July 1969. That's quite a long time ago. I had a holographic scene setter, a light space, switch on, walk around, 3D walkthrough, Hollywood Boulevard in my TV room, Death Valley on my patio. Tahiti in my pad, Laurel and Hardy in the morning, The Who at night, change film, new environment, switch on, switch off, there, not there, what's real, it's observable. It's real when it's there. Is it a dream? Is it a ghost? Is it a turn on? A holographic ceiling, cloud, rainbow, cloud, people, John, pee in your shoes, scenery, event, television, great, switch on the people, turn on the crowd, bring in the whole scene, turn off the ceiling. Ron Heron, LA, 1969. Finally, an advert for a VW camper, which is quite, I think this is real poetry. Your everyday estate car unfolds into a weekend cottage. That's poetry.